The time is at hand.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
But I am telling you right now,
we need a great reset.
And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen.
From 659 feet up in the Appalachian Mountains, you're in dark places. My name is Junebug Fugit. Howdy. Well, the new store has finally opened. They had a big ribbon cutting ceremony and all that cheesy kind of stuff like you see on TV. It was pretty dumb. And they wanted all of us lowlifes out of the building by 4 o'clock because all the dignitaries were going to be there at 5. I guess someone was afraid that we would go question the president of the company or something. Hey, how about giving us a raise instead of building this big fancy building, huh? So, situation averted. We do a lot of crazy, zany stories out of Florida here on the show. That's a famous tradition started over on the Haunted Chronicles. And we've been ripping those guys off. DNA from non-human alien corpses is from unknown species, analysts claim. By Melissa Koenig. Thanks, Melissa. The mystery of the non-human mummified remains found in Peru deepened this week when an analyst claimed that 30% of its DNA is not human, but is rather from an unknown species. Controversial journalist and UFO enthusiast Jose Jaime Mason ushered in a team of scientists who performed a DNA analysis of the remains that found 30% of its genetic material is not from any known species. Mexican researchers who appeared beside him as he testified before the nation's Congress also claimed the figures were authentic, comprising of just a single skeleton, according to UK's Daily Star. While it remains unclear what the other 70% of these so-called aliens' DNA match up with, Masson argued that the DNA analysis confirms the mummies are definitely not human. This is the first time extraterrestrial life has been presented in this manner, he told the Daily Star. We have a clear example of non-human specimens unrelated to any known specimens on our planet. These specimens do not belong to our terrestrial evolution, he continued. They were not creatures discovered by a UFO crash. Instead, they were found in diatom mines and later transformed into fossilized mummies. Masson went on to argue that the public has the right to know about non-human technology and beings. This reality unites humanity rather than dividing us. We are not alone in this universe. We should embrace this truth. The alien enthusiast had earlier presented the Mexican Congress's lower chamber with photographs and x-rays. He and Dr. Daniel Mendoza said proved the specimens do not have lungs or ribs. They're real. Anthropologist Roger Zenega of San Luis Gonzaga National University in Ica, Peru, said of the specimens in his testimony last month. He also presented a letter signed by 11 researchers from the university testifying the same conclusion, that there was absolutely no human intervention in the physical and biological formation of these beings. And now here is the Nicolas Cage meltdown of the week.
did you shoot me?
I am so sorry. Are you okay?
Wow. Did you shoot just me, or did you shoot him too?
No, just you.
I mean, did he get away?
Yes, and he took your truck.
This song is called Headhunter by Crocus, who I saw live back in the day. And why am I playing this song? I'll tell you why. A shopper finds human skull in Florida thrift store. The skull was located in a storage unit that was purchased years prior, the store owner said. A shopper got a post-Halloween scare when they discovered a human skull at a Florida thrift store on Saturday. The shopper, who happened to be an anthropologist, noticed the skull in the Halloween section of a thrift store in North Fort Myers and recognized it to be human, according to the Lee County Sheriff's Office. Deputies responded to the store on North Cleveland Avenue and recovered the skull. Based upon the observations of detectives on scene, the skull is believed to be that of a human. Read a new release in part. According to the store owner, the skull was located in a storage unit that was purchased years prior. The Lee County Sheriff's Office will work in conjunction with the District 21 Medical Examiner's Office to facilitate further testing of the skull, the release stated. Deputies said this case is not suspicious in nature. No, it's just regular to find a skull in a thrift shop. And let me go back to this guy here, who was unnamed. The shopper, Mr. Anthropologist. He had to get involved. And what do you call the police? Hello, Sheriff. I'm in a thrift store, and I don't know how to tell you this, but they got a skull in here. A human skull. You need to come down here pronto. What a jerk. Thank you.
Florida man arrested in road rage fit that began with cup of coffee at Chick-fil-A, deputies say. A Florida man is facing 3 felony charges after someone threw a cup of coffee at him Saturday morning, deputies said. The incident began at the Chick-fil-A on Palm Coast Parkway when the suspect, 36-year-old Donovan Matthews of Palm Coast, got into an argument with a man and a woman, according to an arrest report. Thanks, arrest report. One of the people involved in the conflict threw a cup of coffee at Matthews before leaving the business, deputies said. Matthews then followed the man and woman in his car before purposely striking their vehicle with his car, the report said. This is the way to solve it. After the collision, both parties left their vehicles near the intersection of DeAndrea of Palm Coast Parkway. Matthews then continued the argument before attempting to strike the woman in the face, deputies said. The man was on the receiving end of that strike as he moved to defend the woman before him and Matthews wound up on the ground. As Matthews repeatedly hit him, Matthews is being charged with multiple felonies, including aggravated battery and assault, according to the Flagler County Sheriff's Office.
And here's some short stories out of Florida. It's a story as old as time and has become a viral phenomenon over the years. Florida man and Florida woman taken headlines by storm with crazy crimes. From porta potties to hot dogs to battles with aliens, Florida man and Florida woman have been up to it again this year with a range of crimes. First, let's start with a Florida man found with drugs after getting trapped in a porta potty. Original author, WFLA. Thank you, WFLA. A Florida man found stuck inside a porta potty, was arrested on drug charges after Collier County deputies found him screaming for help. James Gauss, 34, was found by a deputy with a foot sticking out of the bottom of the porta potty. The station reported when the deputy opened the bathroom door, they found a powdery substance in a bag that later tested positive for fentanyl along with a syringe.
Florida man caught defecating on possum in full view of motoring public during busy traffic hours, by Jerry Lamb. A 45-year-old man in Florida was arrested last week after a police officer allegedly witnessed him pulling down his pants and defecating atop a dead possum that was on the side of the road during the middle of rush hour and in full view of the motoring public. Robert A. Wilcox was taken into custody on Wednesday and charged with one count of exposure in a public place, court records show. According to a copy of a probable cause affidavit obtained by Law and Crime, the incident took place at about 5:23 p.m. on Wednesday, November 15th. The document states that on that date, Wilcox was near Belcher Road and Willow Tree Trail, which is about 20 miles west of Tampa, when he was observed by numerous people defecating on a deceased possum. In doing so, police emphasized in the arrest report that Wilcox had his pants lowered and he was fully exposed to onlookers.
After police chase, Florida woman crosses getting arrested off her bucket list. Original author Athena Morris. Thanks, Athena. In an early appearance of Florida woman on the list, Janiyah Shamiracle Douglas was able to cross something off her bucket list in May and now has a mugshot to prove it. According to deputies, she was driving in Monroe County around 7:45 a.m. that day when a deputy tried to pull her over, but Douglas continued driving. She eventually stopped and was taken into custody, telling authorities that getting arrested had been on her bucket list since high school. Douglas was charged with fleeing and eluding. Way to go, Janiyah.
Florida man hits man with leaf blower after fender bender. Irate. A Florida man is behind bars after allegedly hitting another man with a leaf blower after a fender bender, according to Lake County Sheriff's Office. According to an arrest affidavit, deputies were dispatched to the scene Saturday morning in reference to a car crash where one of the parties involved was struck with a leaf blower by the other. The victim claims that he was trying to operate his GPS while driving, which caused his work truck to hit a trailer attached to a truck, which then forced it to collide with a parked vehicle. Deputies say that's when Patrick Edson, 60, ran out of his home to where his car was parked in front, armed with a leaf blower. According to deputies, Edson was described as being irate and slammed the leaf blower into the hood of the man's truck. The victim then opened the door to his work truck, but was then met by Edson, who bashed him with a leaf blower instead of calming down as requested, deputies said. In the arrest affidavit, while Edson was being arrested, he told deputies that he did not strike the victim with the leaf blower, but he did strike the hood of the work truck. He was transported to the Lake County Jail and remains held on $26,000 bond.
Florida man charged for throwing hot dog at St. Pete police officer. Original author Dylan Abad. Thanks, Dylan. A New Port Richey man was arrested on a felony charge after authorities said he threw a hot dog at an officer in July. Arrest documents say Jason Stahl, 47, was being warned of violating a city ordinance by an officer. Officers said he ignored the warning and continued to sell hot dogs in a road after his street closure permit ended. Stahl was asked to put the hot dogs down, but continued his attempts to sell it before becoming upset and intentionally throwing the hot dog at the officer. According to documents, he was charged with battery on a law enforcement officer and resisting an officer without violence. You know, when that guy's sitting in the jail that night, people are saying, hey, what are you in for? Burglary, arson, drugs. I threw a hot dog. Not cool.
Florida man charged for allegedly throwing Oreos at wife over empty coffee pot by Luke Funk. A Florida man is accused of attacking his wife with Oreos in an argument over an empty coffee pot. The couple, who have been married for more than 40 years, got into an argument Saturday about the lack of water. A police report stated that 70-year-old John Paul Sandoval became aggressive and threw an entire package of Oreos at his wife. She fell after they hit her in the chest. He then allegedly put his hands on her neck. Her daughter urged her to press charges after finding out what happened at their Sorrento home. Deputies did not find any injuries on the woman when they responded to the house on Sunday. Sandoval allegedly admitted to throwing the cookies, but said he couldn't remember grabbing her throat. He faces a felony charge of domestic battery on a person 65 years of age or older. He was released from the Lake County Jail on a $2,000 bail.
Kmart wants this holiday to be your best ever, so all the best gifts are all at Kmart's best prices. Festive ladies' holiday sweaters are just $19.99. All fine jewelry, including 10 and 14 karat gold, is now a spectacular 60% off. This RCA 5-CD stereo with 2 speakers is Kmart priced at just $149.99. And how about this 12-piece Tefal cookware set? It's just $66.99. Great savings on famous name brands throughout the store. This holiday, there's a better way to save. Kmart.
Florida members of Congress say the federal government is withholding UFO information. Story about Lawrence Mower from the Miami Herald. U.S. Representative Anna Paulina Luna and a bipartisan group of lawmakers are demanding federal officials to provide more information about unidentified flying objects. During a Thursday news conference, Luna said federal officials have refused to allow them to see classified documents on UFOs, despite whistleblowers coming forward with information claiming that the government has recovered such objects.
It has become very clear and evident that there is an apparent attempt, an orchestrated attempt, to deny us access,
Luna said. Luna, a St. Petersburg Republican who serves on the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability, said she and other members of Congress have been denied information because they don't have proper security clearances.
If we don't have the clearance, who does?
She said. Luna and fellow Florida reps Matt Gaetz, a Republican, and Gerald Moskowitz, a Democrat, urged congressional colleagues to pass an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act to require the Department of Defense to automatically declassify records relating to publicly known sightings. This is not about whether there are aliens or there are not aliens. Those are questions, I think, that remain unanswered, Moskowitz said. The problem is, when we ask those questions rather than being provided information that would prove it false, they stonewall the information, and that is what piques the interest. Long derided by U.S. government officials as science fiction or the result of witnesses' imagination, a 2021 federal task force report found a handful of reported UFO incidents that appear to demonstrate advanced technology, with military aircraft picking up radio frequency energy, with a few sightings.
Florida man drives stolen truck to Space Force Base to warn of battle between aliens and dragons. I like this guy. A Florida man is accused of driving a stolen vehicle to a Space Force base in Brevard County in what he called a mission from the President of the United States. WESH 2 News reported Corey Johnson, 29, stole a truck from Riviera Beach and drove to Patrick Space Force Base near the Kennedy Space Center. When Johnson tried to get on the base, he claimed the president told him, in his mind, that he needed to take the vehicle and warn government officials that there were U.S. aliens fighting Chinese dragons. I love this guy. I want to be his friend. He was arrested and charged with grand theft of a motor vehicle.
Florida woman hurls cinder blocks at man after rear-ending him in Publix parking lot. By Danny Medina. Thanks, Danny. A Florida woman has found herself behind bars after hurling cinder blocks at a man and his car after she rear-ended him in a Publix parking lot, according to deputies. Patricia Momani, 54, was arrested and charged with aggravated battery with a deadly weapon and hit and run after the incident that unfolded shortly before 9 p.m. on Saturday in North Fort Myers, according to an arrest affidavit from the Lee County Sheriff's Office. A man called 911. Like, that's his name. Hey, 911. Never mind. Crappy joke. Sorry. A man called 911 after a woman backed her car into his in the parking lot, the report said. The woman, later identified as Momani, fled the scene, but the man followed her while on the phone with dispatch. His pursuit led them to a residential area where they both got out of their cars. Momani grabbed 3 cinder blocks from a driveway and began to throw them at the man, deputies said. One of the cinder blocks hit the man in the shin. Ouch. Shortly after, the woman got back into her car in an attempt to flee the scene again, but the man grabbed 2 cinder blocks and placed them under her front tires so she couldn't leave. It seems like that would have took some time. What was she waiting for? She should have just left. I don't know. Momani, however, fled on foot in high heels. The man told deputies he didn't know who Momani was and hadn't had any previous interactions with her. The man was able to identify Momani from a 6-person photo lineup, and deputies eventually caught up with her after learning a possible location where she was at. When deputies arrived at her address, they were met by a man who said Momani was inside the house sleeping. The man also told deputies that Momani arrived at his residence appearing to be in distress and stated she was running from someone and needed a place to stay. Her relationship with the man was not made clearer in the affidavit. Momani appeared wearing the same dress she was reported to have been wearing earlier. She was extremely intoxicated, deputies said. You think? She was taken into custody and was then evaluated by Lee County EMS. She was also medically cleared at a local hospital since she was involved in a crash and was clearly drunk, deputies said. As far as the hit and run from the Publix parking lot goes, deputies said the damage to both cars was consistent with the victim's account. Momani's car was towed from the scene. Momani has since been released from the Lee County Jail after posting $20,000 bond. I could use $20,000. Send it to me.
How about this one? Deputies release video of Pinellas woman Irish folk dancing during sobriety test. Body camera video of a woman who put on a performance for Pinellas County deputies during a field sobriety test was released in August. Amy Harrington, 38, was charged with driving under the influence with property damage and refusal to submit to testing in April after rear-ending a vehicle about a mile from her home. Deputies said she showed signs of impairment and performed multiple ballet and Irish folk dance moves during the sobriety test.
Florida man slashes 27 tires. A Florida man was arrested for slashing 27 tires on 17 different cars. Although he was recorded committing the crime, he had a very serious reason why he did it. He said he was being sabotaged because he was exposed to secret government information. According to WFLA, Juan Pablo Ramos Nieto, 41, showed up in court where he was charged with misdemeanors for each of the tires slashed. He was caught on camera slashing the tires of multiple cars in a southwest Miami-Dade neighborhood. One of the cars also happened to be a marked Homestead police vehicle. In a video from the courtroom shared by WFLA, a court official in the video is heard warning him that anything said could be used against him. Ramos Nieto shouted out that he was dealing with secret government influence and was told to act like a security guard at the airport. I was exposed to secret government information. I'm dealing with a federal case, and I'm being sabotaged, he said. I'm being demonized. I warned the CIA that if I'm not, that I'll continue being demonized. More like a government building on fire that's unoccupied. According to the police report, he caused over $6,000 worth of damage after slashing the tires with a knife. The report said that he is also dealing with mental health issues. The arrest report also mentioned one neighbor claimed it was the second time he slashed his tires. The judge set Ramos Nito's bond to $10,000.
Florida man wearing nothing but a cowboy hat attacks woman with a machete. A Florida man was arrested in October when police said he attacked a woman with a machete wearing nothing but a cowboy hat. That guy's pretty brave, waving around a machete, with nothing on. The arrest report from Miami-Dade police said Roberto Hercules, his name is Roberto Hercules, 45, attacked the woman while she was riding a bicycle. Police said he asked her for a crack pipe, but she said she didn't have one. He chased her with a machete. Hercules was charged with attempted murder, attempted armed robbery, and aggravated battery with a weapon.
Florida man hits mechanic with golf club for fixing car too slow. A Florida man was charged with aggravated battery after breaking a golf club over his mechanic's head for working too slow. I know the feeling. According to deputies, 56-year-old Ronnie Cardenas began yelling at the victim, who was outside Cardenas' home working on a truck. The mechanic told the Florida man that he could do the repairs himself and began packing his tools up. Cardenas went inside the house and returned with a golf club, according to deputies. Unfazed, the mechanic continued to prepare to leave because he didn't think he was going to hit him. As the victim began walking away, he felt a heavy impact and a hot pain at the base of his head. He turned and saw a broken golf club in the Florida man's hands. The mechanic fled and called authorities. When they arrived, Cardenas admitted to the attack.
A Florida woman was arrested after speeding through a checkpoint in October in Lee County, according to deputies. Deputies said Shelby Peters, 24, sped through the checkpoint and did not stop. According to authorities, Peters finally stopped, but while the deputy called for backup, he saw her take a selfie before driving off again when the deputy exited his vehicle.
Easter Bunny gives beatdown in downtown Orlando by Laurel Lee. Thanks, Laurel. The weird battle all started when a man bumped into a woman with dreads. Words were exchanged and fists began to fly. That's when the fuzzy white rabbit jumps in to put his paws to work in a beating of his own. A local promoter that goes by Work Filth on Instagram caught the whole thing on video, writing, "As you can see, the Easter Rabbit has been taking boxing classes. Eventually, the bunny brawl was broken up by a local bystander and a bike cop with Orlando police."
You kidding? The Easter Bunny did this?
All I said was the Easter Bunny at the Menlo Park Mall was more convincing. He just jumped the railing and knocked me down.
He's dead.
Oh, let it go. He's under a lot of pressure.
What happened to him? The guy in the Easter Bunny suit kicked his
Had it coming.
all that. Come on, Silent Bob.
And this, I guess, I'm going to tell you another one right here. Apparently this guy's famous. Charles Wideneck McDowell, who rocketed to social media fame after an arrest in 2018, was arrested again on Sunday, November 27th, and booked into the Escambia County Jail. A man who first went viral on social media for his wide neck and his mugshot was arrested again in November for aggravated stalking, and another for withholding support for a child or spouse. According to the Escambia County Jail website and the initial report. Previously, he was arrested in 2018 that included fleeing, eluding police, and drug charges. Holy mackerels. And that does it for more Florida stories.
So don't come down here trying to change things. We're doing all right in the Sunshine State. So how about business? Leave our gov alone.
And I'm afraid we're woefully out of stories right now. We'll be right back here next week, though. And I'd like to thank Jimmy Haunted and Paul Chadwick. And thank you for listening. God bless, and we'll see you next week.